Hello.
Welcome to your third Minisode.
We are too good to you.
We are. Some of you might be thinking, I don't fucking like these Minisodes. Just give me a fucking book instead. But honestly, guys, we can't read that fast. So.
No. And we do have lots of books coming, so be patient.
That we do. Like to give you a little trigger warning. Within this episode, we will be mentioning the Wizarding World. We will not be mentioning the name of the author. We do not believe anything she believes. We do not believe that she deserves any platform at all to speak her hatred. So, yeah, if this is something that you don't want to listen to, we completely understand. We'll see you next week. But this will be the last episode the first and the last episode that we mention the Wizarding World, purely because, to really talk about our bookish origins, we all loved it, we all read it, has to be done.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you, and hopefully we don't lose you, but if we do, we understand, and we'll see you soon. Okay, you have unlocked bookish origins.
Ooh.
I say you've been asking to know more about us. You haven't, but here you go. We're going to tell you anyway.
We feel it's time for you to know more about us.
Yeah, and about how we got into reading, what makes us the readers we are today. And that is the information we are going to give you. So without further ado, without gilding the lily, we're getting into it.
Let's do this thing.
Oh, yeah. Amy, what is the first book you ever remember being read to you?
Lots of books as a child.
Oh, yeah, no, tell us.
So lots of picture books.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite that you remember?
I liked is it Mog?
Yeah, Mog the Cat.
Mog the Cat.
Famous from the Sainsbury's Christmas advert.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And in memory of the author, wasn't it?
Oh,
she
yeah,
died that year.
Is Mog the Cat is not the same as Room on the Broom, because that's Julia Gold's.
That's Julia Donaldson.
Yeah. Who it just happens to be a cat that looks potentially a little bit like Mog.
Yeah. So I loved Mog. I liked Six Dinner Said.
I don't know what that is.
It's about a cat that goes around the neighbourhood, kind of like acting like it hasn't had any dinner, and then all the neighbours feel bad for it. And
like Dawn French and the Vicar of Dibley, the Christmas special. Yeah.
Yep. And the Megan Mog books. Did you read those? It was a witch.
That's where I think I got mixed up with Room on the Broom.
And an owl. The wee white owl friend.
My mum is a big Mog fan. I have not read any of them, but
okay.
but I like that though. It's always fun. So those are the ones that you remember being read to you.
Yes.
And sort of like
asking to be read.
Oh, again. Did you get read to every night before bed? Was that a ritual? Was it?
Yes. And if I couldn't be, if maybe. Or if I think I'm going to say
you were kicking off.
Yeah, maybe. But I remember, I don't know why. Maybe it was as well as, but I also had a lot of books on tape.
Alex is the same. Yeah.
I had a red plastic. I remember this so clearly. You know when you have those things in your mind that you can even remember how it smells, what it felt like.
Amazing. Yeah.
And it was like this red plastic, almost like a folder. And then when you opened it, it had a very distinctive sound.
It makes me sound. It sounds to me as well like because my mum and dad were learning Italian on tape.
Oh right,
and it was that like plastic. It looked like corrugated iron, but it was plastic.
Yeah,
and it was all like it was near impossible to open.
It was,
and it had that very distinctive sound,
like a proper snap when it opened.
Love that.
And it was red. And I had one that remember the story was about how clocks came to be.
Amazing. Was it really how clocks came to be, or was it more like a fantastical version of how clocks came to be?
I think so. I don't know.
Like clock fairies and shit.
I don't know. I don't think so because it talked about like sundials. And
wow, very serious of you as a child. But
there was a song involved. So I remember that. And I also had a book of not fairy tales, but like nursery rhymes that was illustrated, and I loved it. I used to pore over it.
Amazing. And
I still associate popular sort of nursery rhymes with the illustrations in that book. Like I still see those when I hear that. Yeah. What about you?
I was read to every night. My dad was a huge fan, and my mum and I we would have the days, and we'd like watch play days on the telly and all sorts. But I'm pretty sure I distinctly remember Dad reading to me at night, and we'd read "We're Going on a Bear Hunt."
Great one. One
of my ultimate favourites. I mean,
we're not scared.
Yeah, we're going to catch a big one. Harry McClary from Donaldson's Dairy.
Brilliant, classic.
Each Peach Pear Plum.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's this amazing like, can you spot Tom Thumb book, and he's just in the tree, Um,
Come on, Tom, try a bit harder.
and it's like Old Mother Hubbard, and it's those sorts of sort of nursery rhyme elements, but in a little cardboard picture book, and it's lush. But also, if we're going a bit further, because my dad was a bit more like, these are boring. He wanted to read books that he also wanted to read.
Yeah, and share his love of reading with you.
Yeah, so we read the Narnias.
Classic.
Obviously Horse and His Boy, Magician's Nephew. Yeah, Magician's Nephew, and all the way through. I don't think we ever got to the end. Because I remember having to like Google what happened to them at the end, and it was a bit harrowing. So
Googling it. Your childhood crumbling around you.
Yeah. But
nice,
those were my sort of like first ones that I was read to before, and I really loved that.
I think as well though, my love of reading really kicked off when I went to primary school.
Yeah.
I remember I've got a strange the way my memory works is odd. But I remember the first reading book that my group was given in primary 1. So primary 1 is reception.
Yes. Now, for those of you listening in England, ignore everything Amy's about to say about how primary school works, because in Scotland it boggles me. You go a year later.
Well, I was 4 when I went to school.
Oh, see, I was 4 when I went to school.
But then I was an October baby, so we start school in August, and I was 5 in October. So it was only a very small amount of time.
The mad thing is that you guys start in August, because you have like, from what I can gather from living here, you guys finish a month earlier.
We finish in the middle of June.
See, England finishes in the end of July.
Yeah.
Of course, no.
Yes, I've taught in England.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
teaching you how to suck eggs.
I don't know if I can say that, because I don't know if Guernsey would like to be classed as England, but I've taught in the English system.
I'm not even sure England likes to be classed as England.
So yeah, you guys finished up in July, and in Scotland they finish in June, and then they're off the entirety of July, whereas you were off in the whole of August.
Yeah,
and you go back in September. Whereas we go back in August.
Yeah, but anyway, when these guys got to secondary school, it became a whole palaver of going back to year 1, whereas we just
first year.
Well, we just nip into 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Which, I mean, obviously, I'm sure it's not hard to wrap my head around, but I just don't want to... It makes
sense, yeah. I think it's the thing, it makes sense to you guys, doesn't it? Whereas I found that when I was teaching, they were like, oh, my brother's in year 10. And I was like, year 10, okay, 1, 2. Okay.
Oh, he's like, yeah. Whereas immediately I know how old he is.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. So, sorry, massive tangent. We're famous for them. But yes, no, your first year reading book.
And I think it was Biff, Chip and Kipper, so it was a magic key. Yep. And it was about Kipper's first day at school.
And just to be clear, we're talking about Kipper the dog, right?
No, Floppy was the dog. Kipper was the youngest sibling. Do you know who Kipper is? Do you need a little picture of Kipper?
I'm going to get you a picture of my Kipper, and we're about to have a Kipper off, it seems.
I'm sure they were the same. Biff, Chip and Kipper. Oh, do you not read the Magic Key when you were a kid?
No, I got excited when you said Kipper.
I love that though. The dog with the slipper. That's Kipper.
Is it like Kipper the dog?
And he can do this. Yeah.
But also
talking about that.
Yeah. He was also a book character though before he was a television character.
Oh, okay. So you know which Kipper I'm talking about,
no,
right?
I have no idea.
No, this is boggling my mind here. I didn't think that the differences were so huge in England.
I mean, look, maybe Gary just didn't want me reading kids' books because he didn't want to read them.
That was Kipper.
I seen them.
But didn't you have a reading book when you were a child? Like, weren't you given a book home from school to read every week?
No, I don't think so.
Oh. Well, that was a thing. So
I don't think we did.
And then you got your reading record, and your mum or dad or whoever was looking after you, I suppose. Sometimes your gran. For me, would like sign it to be like, oh, I heard Amy read today, and then I would take it into school the next day, and I would show my teacher and be like, look, and I'd get like a little sticker or something. No.
But then I also don't think reading, like much like yourself, I don't think they were monitoring my reading because they were worried about it. Because, I think it was very obvious from the off that I was an absolute swot.
Yeah, but then. No, but maybe you just didn't have it. Maybe your primary school didn't subscribe to it. But really, it would be like reading groups. So you would have the top reading group, and they would read quite advanced books.
What,
and
like
then,
Biff, Chip, and Kipper?
Yeah, probably And then you'd
How
be
heavy
like,
was it? I'm not. Yeah.
oh, it's like a little like.
I meant how heavy was the subject matter?
Oh, it was.
Did anyone die?
No, it was his first day at school.
Then I'm not interested.
Nothing happened in it. He just went to school, came home.
Was it absolutely fine?
It was absolutely fine. Every time it was absolutely fine in the magic key.
Fantastic. What's the magic key?
Well, it gets more exciting. So eventually, it was kind of odd because I think they must have decided to ramp it up for like the new modern day audience.
Oh, fun.
Because it's still very much used today. So I was a teacher up until very recently. And basically the magic key would take them back in time.
Fun.
And they'd go on fun adventures, like back to like ancient Egypt and stuff.
Oh, right, okay. Getting kids to learn about history through the medium of stories.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
We instead, I do think we had like a sort of a reading thing, but I don't remember it being a particular book. We had like a bookshelf, probably maybe about half the size of one of mine, and it was stuffed full of like the different kind of reading levels you were at.
Yeah, that's what that was. Yeah, yeah. I think you maybe just used a different schema.
Maybe.
Because you get like Oxford Reading Tree, which is what that was. You might have been something else.
God, the teachers listening to this are going wild.
They will be.
In their cars, like, woo, woo, woo.
Oh, RT! Yeah.
We're definitely keeping that in.
Please don't.
But yeah, no, and it had like different colours for different schemes.
Yeah.
And I think by the time I finished primary school, I'd read every book on there, or like.
Did you have a book that was in your school library, or a book your teacher read to you that you enjoyed the most? You remember you liked hearing more than once?
I don't think so. That's God, how I'm breaking open Finkel Primary School's terrible educational system. No, I don't think so. But I did love to read.
So you just read on your own. You weren't sort of influenced by what your teachers were doing.
Just my dad, really.
Your dad, yeah.
Thanks, Gary. He doesn't listen to this, but you know.
He might listen to this one. Tell him to.
Yeah, maybe.
You may get a shout out.
I would have loved, I think, if there was more reading in school, like, or more of a push for reading, because maybe, I think we've spoken about this before, potentially in our last minisode, like, maybe, you know, we wouldn't have been as bullied half as much, kids that love to read.
Yeah, there was a stigma attached to reading.
Yeah, but we're moving on from that, because this is a happy Bookish Origins.
Bookish Origins.
So we've talked about books that were read to us. Can you tell me the first book you sort of found yourself and really loved? And obviously it doesn't necessarily have to be one you found, like it could have been bought for you for a gift or, you know, whatever, but you read it by yourself and it was sort of, you know.
So I went to the library with my mum every week.
Nerd.
I know, loser. And with my mum as well, not even like on my own as a cool independent street child.
Street child.
So that's probably when that never went away. So that just progressed from picking books to read with her, to like picking different books to read to myself. So I remember so clearly maybe getting out about 5 books at a time, I guess. Coming home, reading the back of them. This is so lame. And then
ranking them.
Literally like a physical TBR.
Yes,
like
look at this.
Them.
This is what you were born to do.
I know. Yeah. When I started to take notes for this episode, it made me realise, like, oh yeah, it makes sense that you've got a podcast about books. Yeah. So I don't know, standouts. One big standout would be the Goosebump books.
Oh, so good. It's not that necessarily my mum, couldn't afford the Goosebump books. I just think my mum fucking loves a dupe. Like, dupes are all fucking popular and lush in this. It's crying out, but she loved it even then. We got like the works Goosebumps called Creepers.
Oh, I remember those. And was there not one called like Chillers or something?
Oh, maybe it was Chillers
or something. Yes,
no, sorry. Go on about Goosebumps. Do you remember your favourite Goosebumps?
My favourite Goosebumps.
Thank you for repeating it for everyone to hear.
I liked I liked loads of them. I liked Horrorland.
Okay.
I liked Say Cheese and Die. I
think I remember that one.
I liked It Came From Beneath the Sink because that was about a killer sponge, which, like, you
classic.
Know, I like, obviously that was the thing for R.L. Stine, was that he wanted to create peril, but like not too much. Like, be scared, but it's a sponge.
Also, camp peril. That man should be a gay icon. Like the amount of campness that is in those books, and like the ventriloquist dummy.
Oh,
excuse me. Yeah,
he has got sass for days.
he does.
Yeah, so loved Goosebumps. I was like kind of scared of them, like a little bit like scared,
but like almost a bit thrilling.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like, it was quite frightening. And look at all because it was like slime. I had those original covers, and it was like pink and green.
Were they bumpy?
Yes,
yeah. I mean Goosebumps, but no, but like love that.
What about you?
Well, now I've awoken myself to the world of the chiller books or the creeper books. It was this black book I remember so distinctly, and I must have read it again and again and again. It's called Rag and Bone Man.
Oh, that sounds scary. And
it was like, God, at one point I think they're doing like a chant to Beelzebub, and that's the first time I'd seen that word written down.
This is dark.
Yeah,
they went the other way.
Yeah, that was it. Not camp at all. If anything, high peril. Yeah, there was like this guy that would come and like take your body or something.
That's terrifying.
I'm gonna have to. You know what? I'll take it on the plane to Australia.
I would be scared to read that now. I'm gonna Google it.
Let me have a quick look.
Horrifying.
Rag and Bone Man. The problem is now googling Rag and Bone Man is just gonna bring me up with the singer. Creepers book rather than fucking. Yeah, here it is. Creepers, Rag and Bone Man, Edgar J. Hyde. Oh. That is the cover, and it was it was like glossy.
Yes, I love those kind of 90s, early 2000s books that were glossy.
Oh yeah. In a small village, the night after every funeral, an apparition of a rag and bone man with his horse and cart reputedly makes his way down the high street. The trouble is, the person reporting the sight is normally the next person in a coffin. Thus, a conspiracy of silence prevails among the locals, and the legend remains unconfirmed until Brian, Cody, and Dave decide to investigate after the death of an elderly relative. Oh. And yeah, I think they end up like banishing the rag and bone man.
Well, yeah, sounds like it.
Which, to me, now that I think about it, just sort of seems like he's just the natural death figure that just comes and takes people
he's
when
just
they're
like the Grim Reaper.
Yeah. Did your books have a specific smell? Because I'm really remembering the smell of that Creepers book.
Yes.
And it's not unpleasant, but it's also not a smell I think I'd ever like to smell again.
I know what you mean. And and you also had that risk when you got a library book or a school library book, I felt like more so, where like you would get to a certain page and someone had obviously been eating their dinner when they were reading it.
Oh no, yeah.
And there was like a bolognese stain.
Always bolognese. Always
and you're like, oh yuck.
Yeah, thankfully the Creepers book didn't have that.
Nice.
That was, even then we didn't patronise the library. Although I do remember going a few times, but yeah, no, that was definitely from
That's interesting that you love reading so much, but you weren't as keen on the library.
I think I was more into the library when I got older, and you could use it for the computers.
Nice.
Because we didn't have knocking the equipment. We didn't have a computer until I was a bit older. But yeah, man, loved. Anyway, right. So those are the first books that you remember really picking for yourself and sort of being like,
from like early days, I would say so. I also loved, but these are probably when I was a bit older, but like the Meg, is it Cabot?
Yes. No,
Princess Diaries.
Yeah, classic.
But there's loads of Princess Diaries books. And then she does another series that's not about a princess. I think it's more about, is it like the president's daughter or something like that? So I read loads of those books.
Amazing.
I read, is it Animorphs?
Oh my god, I love the Animorph ones. And then the best thing about those books, other than the story, was the flicking the bottom of the pages and the human transformed into whatever animal it was.
And it was also on the front of the cover, like there was like a kind of...
Sometimes, yes. Oh, it was so bad.
I know,
now
so
that I
bad.
think about it, the morphing. Yes, Meg Cabot, All-American Girl.
Yeah.
God, she's done fucking loads.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that one looks kind of sexy and a bit older. Will we reading that later?
No.
Oh wait, no. No, okay. No, I think I might have read some of these, but more the older ones. Size doesn't matter. Meg Cabot.
Oh.
A Heather Wells mystery. Oh, maybe it's not. I thought it was more like a self-help book for girls, but I guess not.
So in the library, it's not like this now, because the library that I went to as a child has now been all knocked down and changed. But
Obviously.
before, it was like the children's books were in little trains.
Yes, of course.
So you could like flick through them. And then and I was also hugely into Horrible Histories.
Oh my god, me too.
I read so many of those. And then what was the one that was like science one?
Oh, I don't remember the science one.
It was like
anything that involved higher learning.
Disgusting digestion and everything like that.
Fun.
Yeah. And then round the back on this little carousel thing that spun was like the teen books.
Oh, okay.
And that's
You're
when I
too
got
old,
into it.
Too young for those books.
Yeah.
Oh, the sort
when
of.
I had to be like, Mum, can I get a teen book? And she'd be like, yeah. And you get like a Babysitter's Club one, or like a Georgia Nicholson series book.
I'm gonna have to search all of these, man. Why do I feel like I mean, look, does it shock me that I didn't have a conventional childhood? Probably. Like, did your dad let you watch an 18 horror film at 5 years old? No. Fucking hell. Oh, Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging. Never read them.
Read all of them. They're so funny, and I've read them not long ago as an adult.
God, there's 10 of them,
and they're so funny and so heartwarming and very of the time.
Amazing.
Like take you back, and you're like, oh yeah. I remember reading that.
For the play in Australia, I've got time.
You've got time. You've got a long time. What about you? What were your big books?
The Artemis Fowl series by Owen Colfer.
Fair enough.
Fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was really so much more drawn to books that had male protagonists.
That's very interesting, because I was total opposite.
I think the books with male protagonists, they got to do more fun stuff, or more stuff that at least I felt I wasn't doing. Like, with the Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging, I imagine, this is me generalising here, you know, the main character is, you know, quite maybe wants a boyfriend, and like you know, is quite into makeup and fashion and stuff. That wasn't me as a kid. Like, shocker.
So you couldn't really relate.
Just look at me now.
You've changed so much. No, you have. You just showed me 2 lipsticks you've bought. I can see them behind me.
Stop telling people. I've got a reputation to uphold here.
So you sort of identify more with the kind of.
I think I wanted to be more in the situations of the male main characters. Like Artemis Fowl is like boy genius, like the fairies and everything. And then the Anthony Horowitz, the Alex Riders, child spy, like so cool. Maybe, you know, maybe there was just part of me that didn't want to be them, but just wanted to date them.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
You know, I just imagine myself in this world with them. Like, what if...
Little sidekick running beside them.
Love me. I've really missed a trick of writing Alex Rider fanfiction or Artemis Fowl fanfiction. What is wrong with me? What have I been doing my whole life?
I know. You didn't discover it. Have you read any of it?
No, but I think it's probably going to be much more acceptable for Alex Rider, because I'm sure at one point he becomes 18, whereas Artemis Fowl is not 18. No. So we'll keep that very firmly locked in a different box, which nobody will ever open.
Yep.
But so much more like adventure-y type books. God, I'd forgotten about the Rag and Bone Man though. I cannot get that out of my head. I'm gonna have to go and search for that.
I have a lot of something traumatic in you now.
Not so much. It's more. I have this really vague memory of walking back to my house. I think I'd just gone to the corner shop or something for my mum, and I was walking. It was only like go out the street, turn left, and go down 2 streets, and it was there.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of shop that's been a Bell's, that's been a Co-op, that's been a Nisa, that's been a Spar. I'm not even sure what it is right now, but it's always been Bell's.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'd coming back, and I was reading that book, and I was reading that bit about them banishing up or calling out to Beelzebub or something, or banishing the Rag and Bone Man. And I was walking, and I just have this vague memory now. So thank you for that. That's so fun.
Oh, nice.
Look at me, I'm smiley as fuck.
You are.
But yes, the Artemis Fowls, the series of unfortunate events by Lemony Snicket. They are, I mean, that was definitely a bit older me.
Yeah, I was going to say I discovered those a bit older for sure.
Yeah, maybe about like secondary school age, so maybe about like 11 or 12.
Yeah, fair.
But I don't know if I can really remember much more of my reading before that.
No. Well, there was pre Harry Potter, and there was post Harry Potter for me.
Yeah.
Because I read books that were very different before I discovered the Harry Potter series, and then my tastes changed quite a bit after that.
Okay.
And I think I gravitated towards adventure and magic and fantasy. Yeah.
I'm really interested. In terms of the Wizarding World, did you read them as they came out, or did you read them a little bit later? What happened? Because I can remember distinctly when I started reading.
Okay. So we've already given a trigger warning here, and I just do want to do another quick disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to talk about these books with so much love because I absolutely love the books.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't lie about that.
That's fine.
Because I don't think it would be fair to be honest, to myself and to all the other people that love the books. So I think Philosopher's Stone came out, and I wasn't that fussed about it. It wasn't something similar to what I read. It was a male protagonist, so I was instantly thinking no. And then I read the second one before the first.
What the fuck?
And I got about 50%. No, not even as much as 50% in. And I thought, this is rubbish. Like, I don't know what anyone's doing. Who's that? Where are they?
I mean, you skipped the first book.
And then I realised.
So you didn't know it was
No.
Right.
No, I didn't know. So my teacher said to me, "What? Oh, did you like the first one?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I don't know." So kind of went through, and I was always a bit behind. Very strongly sort of remember reading the fourth book on holiday and crying my eyes out in the hotel room.
Why? What happened?
And then it was the fifth one. I was in my neighbour's house and we were like, oh my goodness, we have the fifth one. And it wasn't until the sixth one that I actually got it when it was coming out. So that's when I caught up, I would say.
Okay, cool. Okay. So I'm only a little bit ahead of you. I caught up on the fifth. I own the first four in paperback.
Okay. Yep.
I read, I think I was maybe 2 or 3 years behind because by the time Goblet of Fire came out, I was ready to read it. But my mum and dad bought me like the 4-book for Christmas or something. And I don't know whether the timing coincided and they bought it and put it away for Christmas or something. But yeah, no, the 5th book I have in hardback and vice versa. Yeah. And I got the Deathly Hallows the morning I went to camp, so I was an air cadet for 5.5 years.
Nice.
Lame. And you may say nerd because I shouted at you for going for the library.
I'm a bigger person than that.
You are better than me, that's fair. But yeah, so I was going to camp that morning at about 6 a.m. and my dad bought it for me, and I was the only kid on a camp of maybe 80 kids who had the book, and they would not let me read it the whole way down. I got to Hedwig's death. And that's it. That's all I read in an 8-hour journey because they wouldn't let me read it because I was the only one that had it, and they were all like, "What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?" And I remember just being like, "Hedwig's dead."
Yeah, shut up. Yeah. Okay. So my dad was like, "Do you want to go at the midnight release?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to go to that. Like, I'm too cool for that. No." And then the next day I woke up and I was like, "Dad, I need the book." And he was like, "Right, come on." So we got in the car and we drove all around the kind of area that round about kind of Falkirk and Stirling. And eventually I was in Morrison's, the supermarket, and I went in and it wasn't there. So they had them all on these big paper, like, like the display kind of.
Yeah, the cardboard thing that clearly had like a motif or something on it.
Exactly. And yeah, it wasn't anywhere to be seen. It was empty. And then this woman came and she had like a pallet. She was like pushing a pallet and I was just looking at them and it was cardboard boxes. And I was really quite a shy child. Like I wasn't massively confident. And I went over to her and I was like, "Is that the Harry Potter book?" And she was like, "Yeah." She was so not interested because obviously she's just at work, she doesn't care.
Who the fuck is this kid talking to me?
Could I? She was like, "Yeah." And she got a box cutter, cut it open and was like, "There you go." And I was just like,
the Bible.
I remember standing in the queue and like clutching it in my hands because more people were coming in and they were like, "Where did you get that? Where'd you get that?" And I was like, "Oh, they're over there, but you're not getting my copy of this. It's mine." And then I got home and I was staying at my grand's that night for some reason. And I read the book the whole night. And my gran kept coming upstairs because I was in her bedroom and she was like, "Do you want a cup of tea, dinner?" And I was like, "No, I just want to be alone with my feelings, Gran. Leave me alone."
What's your grand's name?
Greta.
Greta. Shout out to Greta.
Shout out. Yeah, so I love that. I like hearing people's experiences of reading the seventh book because I think it's quite a formative experience for most people.
The fifth book was spoiled for me.
Oh, that's tough.
No.
What?
Was it the fifth book? Oh yes, I was in the midst of reading it, and then
What, serious?
Yeah, and then my some guy, some boy in school was just like, yeah, I was probably maybe halfway through the book at the time. I think I repressed it and just got through it, but
That's tough.
But yeah, so Harry Potter, do you credit it for your jump to fantasy, or is there perhaps other ones that maybe also around about the same time also cemented that?
There probably were other ones because I think a lot of books either got popular because of the huge rise in popularity around kind of fantasy adventure books, but it was the first book I'd read that was so detailed. The world building was so rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say it's definitely up there.
Fair. No. I'm going to say potentially a child's horror book. And I realise now we're almost changing positions here because I'm going to say Darren Shan, the Vampire's Assistant.
Yeah, Rory loves those books.
And Rory has excellent taste.
He really does.
They're all over there. I loved them so much. Again, about my 11 or 12, 13 maybe, and I have it's so mad. I have the first three in like a trilogy omnibus, and then the rest are all individual. And there's 12 or 13 of them, and I love them. They're such good books. I'm tempted to read them again.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like, I'm sure you do. You'll be like myself. That you have books that you will reread, like from your childhood. But then there's plenty of them I haven't reread in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I probably should read the series of Unfortunate Events. Oh my god. Again.
I remember being really disappointed with the end of a series of Unfortunate Events.
Yeah, me too. And maybe that's what's making me feel like, oh, maybe that's why I haven't read it. Yeah. Again.
I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you for that. What do you feel like is now? Actually, this is a better question. Is there a book that you're seeing people reading now that you're like, I read that fucking years ago? And not that you're gatekeeping, of course.
Yeah.
But very much like oh, come on, guys.
I don't think so. I think in general, though, the fact that books I loved so much when I was younger, the fact that they're still so popular to this day, can only be credited to internet, right? And social media.
Very true. Do you have specific books in mind when you're saying that?
It's got to be Harry Potter, right? I mean, it's still everywhere. Still literally everywhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a new fan base coming through every single year. Like, I was, as I say, I was a teacher for a long time. I saw kids starting reading it in like primary 3.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say that would probably be the big one. What about you? What have you
The
noticed?
Percy Jackson books.
Oh, yeah, well, that's another one, to be fair, yes, because of the TV show.
Yeah, and I mean, if you haven't seen the TV show and you're a little bit of a skeptic, it's great. This is from a person who is obsessed with Percy Jackson. I've got my own Camp Half-Blood t-shirt. Love it so much. The series is great. It's been done really well.
It's so good. I love the series and I really liked, I don't know if you've seen this, the Goosebumps TV series they've just brought out.
I haven't seen the
Justin
TV.
Long.
Oh. Do you want to tell everyone?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I just want to tell you Justin Long is in it, and that was a big reason that I watched it. You can take from that what you will. Yeah, so if you haven't seen that, highly recommend, because again, that's another one.
So I really enjoyed, was it the Goosebumps film with Jack Black?
Yeah, those are good.
I haven't seen the second one, but I really quite liked the first. I think we just watched it because it was on, or there was something we were like, why not? It could just come on to streaming, and we were like, looks fun, and it was actually much better than I thought it was going to be. Really nice elements of nostalgia. But
this is darker.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's more kind of like teenagey, I suppose.
Nice.
Like a group of teenagers that unlock the kind of the Goosebump stories, and then they all start kind of coming true and things.
Ooh, okay, so higher elements of peril. Enjoy that. That. What else? I mean, even to an extent, the Hunger Games books, I think they had a resurgence, a la the Songbirds and Snakes came out, and then the films come out.
Whereas I read them way before the films.
Yeah, no, they came out. Well, let's have a look. So, let's find out.
I have another really obvious one as well.
Go for it.
Twilight. I'm a huge Twilight fan before the films came out.
Huge Twilight fan. 1 sec. There we go. Tell us what year it was.
Would you like to guess?
Oh, okay. How old was I? I'm gonna say about 2006.
Boom.
Yes.
Well,
Fuck you, all the Twilight haters.
it is copyright 2005, but it was first published in Great Britain in 2006.
Close enough.
But I think that's fair, to be
Yeah.
honest. Also, remember that? No
The
one remembers
host.
the host.
I loved the host.
Did you?
Okay.
Anyway.
My friend, just taking us on to Twilight, because fuck the Hunger Games. We talked
Sorry,
enough about the
no,
Hunger Games in Poster Girl. Bugger it. Yeah, we've just recorded Poster Girl, guys, so, bugger it. We've talked enough about that. But yeah, Twilight. My friend was reading it, and I slept over at her house, and she said, oh, it's great, you should read it. And I think she let me borrow it because she was on the second one, and I was obsessed.
Yeah.
Immediately obsessed. I mean,
It is.
I think I know what the answer is. I think we might have already done this before, but I think I'd have known if, even if I didn't. The people want to know. I want to know. Team Edward, Team Jacob.
Team Edward all day.
Always. What? The answer may shock you, but yes.
I remember it just being one of the first things I was so into the fandom of. Like, I remember looking at, like,
almost losing yourself
fan
to
art.
that.
Yeah.
Almost totally losing yourself to it, for sure.
And being really quite, like, open about how much I loved it. Like, I think there was no real stigma of, like, it's not cool. I remember having a poster of Edward in my bedroom.
Wait, have we talked about this? Is it, like, it says Edward in, like, creepy script or something, and he's in, like, the grey jacket?
He's in the grey jacket.
And it's, like, a big picture of his head, isn't it?
And he's raging looking in it. And my dad was always like, oh.
My dad,
right,
too,
then.
was always like, alright, how you doing, Ed? Yeah.
Because he was, like, right above, next to my bed, so I could be like,
So I slept, like if I'm sleeping this way,
yeah.
he was, like, there.
He was. I could see him, like, glaring at me in the dark.
But
I'm like, oh, Edward.
spitting on you.
My. Oh. Well, I'm not Bella, so you know.
For Patreon, so.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, I mean, I remember, and I mean, let's have a quick look at when Breaking Dawn was released. Would you like to guess?
This is a hard one. I don't know how long it took her to write them all.
Because I don't think it went 1 year, you know.
I don't think so.
But we're about
2011.
Okay.
That would be too long.
Oh.
No.
Interesting. First published in Great Britain in 2008.
What?
Did it take her 2 years to bring out all 4 of them?
Was it maybe because it was published a lot sooner in America?
Maybe. Do you know what? Let's get them all out.
Yeah, I can't imagine she wrote all the books and got them all published within 2 years.
How, when we were doing our sort of like homework and stuff for this, did we not mention this at all?
I didn't even write it on my list. It's not even on my notes to talk about Twilight, which is so strange because it was a huge part of my bookish origins.
New Moon, first published in the United States by Little Brown and Company in 2006. New Moon in Great Britain 2007.
Okay, so we've got a year. Yep.
Eclipse, first published in Great Britain in 2007. This edition was published in 2008, but I think this is I think I lost my original edition. Not that
so two came out in a year.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh. Okay.
I remember getting Breaking Dawn the day it came out, and being in a hotel in Harrogate. My mum and dad had taken us to this hotel in Harrogate for a weekend away, and I was in like almost it was a suite, but it was like an adjoining room. I think they must have had a bad experience at the hotel the last time, so mum and dad, they got a free stay or something because it was a fucking fancy room. So like it was like two rooms in one almost, but there was a door, so I would go in and there was this wing-back chair, this brown leather wing-back chair. And it had like a lamp over it, and my bed was like just across.
Perfect,
and I sat in that wing-back chair, and that is what, ever since I was 15, I suppose that would have been, I have wanted a brown leather wing-back chair.
So you can relive that moment.
Just because I think it was the perfect reading spot. And yeah, even to this day, I have no shame, because the phenomena of Twilight was so big. There's no way anyone's fucking shitting on you for that. Well, they can try, but it barely touch the sides, man.
like, it's water off a duck's back. I don't care.
I introduced Alex to the films in lockdown.
I think a lot of people discovered the films in lockdown, because I know a lot of people that were like, or maybe rewatched them again even in lockdown.
Well, I rewatch them every year. I love them.
I rewatched them all in lockdown.
But because I think it was because I think they might have been on Disney Plus, or they might have been on Twilight on Netflix or something.
I think Netflix had them all for a while, and
There we
then
go,
I
that'll
don't
be
think
it
they
then.
have them now.
But yeah, so it was 2020, and I think we just run out of stuff to watch. And I
Fair
said,
enough.
"Have you ever watched the Twilight films?" And he was like, "No." And I was
he
like,
kind of like
"Well, strap in."
hesitant to watch it? Or did he care enough? Or
I
was he
think-
just like, I'll watch it?
I think he was a bit like, "Yeah, I mean, if you love them, yeah, we'll love them."
nice. Yeah.
He loves them.
Cool.
Sorry,
what does he
Alex.
love about them?
He just thinks they're great.
Yeah.
There is one bit he fucking hates.
What's that?
The scene in Breaking Dawn Part 2 where it's all a dream.
Oh, yeah.
But I have to explain to him that in the books it never happens.
Mhm.
You know, that
It's a vision.
they never ever fight.
Yeah.
So, and it's never it's so ultimately like they had to do something.
And it would have been, I think it worked better the way they did it than to make it, try and work it, film it as a vision. I don't think it would have translated well to the big screen.
Yeah. So
I remember going to see the first film,
I
and
never saw it in the cinema.
it was a wild experience. Now,
Oh yeah.
for our American listeners,
Oh.
I know that it's quite common in America, or I'm led to believe, and I have been to see a film in America once in the cinema, that you clap at the end of the film.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's fine. That doesn't happen in Great Britain very often. I think
No.
we're quite a reserved people.
The only time I've ever
yeah.
heard of it happening, my dad told me it happened at the end of Back to the Future when he saw that in the cinema.
That's kind of fair enough, to be
It's
fair.
a fucking class film. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Whereas this was like a fucking concert. It was like Edward came on screen and people were like, wow! It was such a cool experience.
Have you seen the reel of somebody going to see the double part 1 and 2 of Breaking Dawn in the cinema? I think it's like a re-release, so it's not.
Oh,
the-
right. No.
And it's like that.
Yeah.
It's like a concert, and then as the cast's coming on and stuff, like, and then the Nessie moment,
Yeah.
everyone's loving it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I just think it's such. Looking for your Twilight girls and your Twilight guys,
Yeah.
at this age, it's so wholesome.
Oh, it was such a wholesome
For what
experience.
could have potentially been a toxic fandom, which maybe it sometimes did get a little toxic. Not for me, but I
Yeah.
can imagine it probably
I didn't
did.
have any negative experiences of it.
But such a good, and I mean, let's all full disclosure. I'm always going to be an Edward girly, but bit of Charlie.
Oh yeah, now that we're older as well, it's like,
God, he's so
that's
fit.
the one. Forget about all the supernatural lovers in this.
Alex thinks they do Charlie dirty because every scene he's either drinking a beer or polishing his gun, like, or sometimes both.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Ugh.
can see that. Yeah, but that was such a cool experience. And at the end, I don't know how much you remember the kind of end credits of the first film.
Yeah.
And it's pictures of them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people were like, "Yay!
Yeah.
Woo!" It was so funny, and so cute. And people had obviously seen it already, and were like, "How you like the rain, girl?" It's just like, this is such a cool experience. Yeah, so we went to see it twice.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So
Yeah.
I never saw the first film in cinemas. I torrented it.
Ooh, that's so cool. It was like Pirate Bay.
I think it was LimeWire.
Nice, LimeWire.
just fucking.
Just ruin your computer. My
Um,
dad used to go mad about LimeWire because he was always like, "You've been getting songs again," because it would be like the virus software would be like, "Wah, wah, wah." Like, I'm sorry.
dicks and just
Yeah.
boobs everywhere. Yeah, no, it was, and I remember, or maybe it was on like a torrent website where I was just
Okay.
watching it on a very small
Yeah,
screen,
yeah.
and I remember watching the baseball scene and just living for it. Yep, Alice somehow is playing both ballet and baseball.
That's fantastic. When she kicks her leg away up in the
Yeah.
air. Fantastic. And then song.
I have
Muse.
tried to do that.
Have you?
The kicking my leg up.
How did you?
No,
Get on?
not great.
Not great.
Not great. Should I do it right now?
Yeah, I'm ready. We were filming this.
Okay. Alright, so she's got the ball. Let me take the shoe off in case it goes flying. She's got the ball. They're not going to be able to see this. but you
I
will.
can see it, and that's enough.
She's got the ball. And
I'll
she's
narrate.
It's like.
Whoa! Wasn't bad. And she did a little bit of singing down in there.
I just thought I would put the Supermassive Black Hole soundtrack on it for you. It made me feel more comfortable. Get me shoe back.
It was a very cool scene.
Mm.
Because the baseball thing was a bit weird. Like, right, okay.
Little bit, yeah. And like, oh, it's my own monkey man.
Yeah.
For me, the first film, we have spent so long talking about Twilight.
But we have to.
What is your favourite book? What is your favourite film?
I think my favourite book is maybe Eclipse.
Wow.
Yeah, no, maybe no. No. Or maybe, I don't want to say Twilight, but Twilight is probably like...
That's fair.
You know. My favourite film... I don't like Eclipse the film.
No, Eclipse the film is the worst fucking film that's ever existed.
I don't know if New Moon's a bit rubbish as well.
I remember, so on the rewatch, and I think Alex and I rewatched them last August as well. A New Moon was considerably better than I remember it being.
I'll need to rewatch it then.
Yeah, okay, come back to us. But
such a Edward girl that I never really rewatched New Moon because I was always like, oh, he's not in it.
Jacob centric.
Yeah, and we're supposed to start liking Jacob at this point, and
for me, obviously more Edward, but because I think it's clearly Endgame, and she's clearly not interested in Jacob.
I know.
And she just wants a friend. And if anything, it gets a bit nefarious when you think about it, because she really just wants a friend and somebody to spend time with, and Jacob's there, like, fucking
just
playing
trying
an
to find
angle.
any way that he can possibly convince her to be with him. It's like, just leave it, Jacob. She likes Edward.
Yeah, and who would? Fuck off.
Exactly.
Anyway, other than the fact that Taylor Lautner is such a nice man. He seems like such a nice guy.
He is so nice.
Not that Robin Pattinson isn't.
He's funny. He's hilarious.
I love how much he hates Twilight.
I love have you listened to any of the DVD extras?
Yes.
The commentary. It's just so funny. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing there. I don't remember this bit. And you're just like,
he's 107.
Yeah, just now. And they're all like, Robert,
shut up. Anyway,
supposed to be bigging this up. Yeah.
But my favorite book is Breaking Dawn. I love an ending, and I think
like an ending.
I think that Stephanie really, really wraps it up so nicely. You get, and I love more powers and more people, and the fact that you hear about all the vampires that come to witness, and you get all the vampire powers.
Yeah, it's quite. It's a cool
so
moment.
Much.
Yeah. Film.
It's gonna have to. It might. If I'm going on the same vein, I would have to say Breaking Dawn Part 2, but I do love like the both of them together, 1 and 2.
I think that's you have to
because I love the wedding, and I love like where they get married, and I get like I forget how ridiculously stupid the honeymoon is, and she just comes out in all these like sexy underwears, and it's just like Kristen Stewart trying to play that is sexy.
She's great. She's so great now though.
Oh, she's class.
Like at the time when you were watching, you're like, she's not cast well, but now you're like just love her. So I don't care so much about that.
She's our awkward Bella.
Yeah.
But I think if I was pushed to be like, you've got to pick one film, it has to be Twilight. It's so wonderfully shot, and it's so beautifully done,
and it's so quotable.
Oh, and even in itself is like, it's an art piece. If I'm talking, shut up. If I'm talking about this seriously, it is so. It's so much differently shot than the others.
Yeah, because there's more thought behind it, and they had very little budget apparently. So, I was reading somewhere that she had to. It was something along the lines of making them like little kind of slipper things.
Oh, okay.
They were needed for one of the scenes, I think. And she like hand stitched them.
Are you talking about Stephanie Meyer?
No. Is it Catherine Hardwicke? Is that her name?
Oh right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was a labour of love for her.
Amazing.
And they didn't have a great budget because they weren't really sure how well received it was going to be.
She doesn't do the others, does she?
No,
which just seems like such a shame, because I'd have loved to have seen how it would have been filmed the way it's filmed.
Yeah.
Because Twilight, it's a considerable shift.
Yeah.
From Twilight to New Moon to Eclipse to
Yeah, and it's got such a strong sense of itself, doesn't it? It's like, unlike anything else. It's like moody and blue.
Yeah, the cinematography is so blue and grey. Yeah,
and the music and I love.
Maybe we should. I'd say we should just cut this and make it an entire Twilight episode.
Maybe we'll do a Patreon.
Maybe we could just read the Twilight books.
That would not be a chore for me to do. So
Oh no!
any excuse.
Stop forcing us, guys.
Is that what you want us to do, guys? Oh, come on! If you're so
God.
sure about it and you can't take no for an answer.
Moving back on to just series that have your heart forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to go with The Skullduggery Pleasance by Derek Landy. Those books are insane. I've got to go with maybe the first. Oh, you know me, The Belgariad.
Yeah,
David Eddings, so good. Stephen King's Eye of the Dragon. I got into a real period of reading all of the Agatha Christie's.
I know. Yeah, you were telling me this. That's really cool.
I don't think I've read all of them, but my dad has these red leather bound copies where inside of them is two. It's like two of the stories.
Oh, okay.
All
right.
They must have been in a series years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just got obsessed with them when I was younger.
Do you remember? This is back to what we were talking about before. But I was thinking about how much I used to love these books. Do you remember with Goosebumps? This is the only one I can remember, so there may be other book series that used this, where you could like choose your own adventure.
Oh my god, I was literally just about to tell you about this. Yeah, or like I talked to you about this. Yes, my dad had a few because he's a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan. And I tried to get into it a little bit. We played this game called Hero Quest, which is it has a physical board. It's a bit like Dungeons and Dragons, but you actually move around a board and stuff. It's classic. But yes, these adventure books, my dad had a few, and I think he bought me some, or I used them as well, and God, I would just get so annoyed with them because I would just end up in a trap or in a pit and I'd be like, you're dead. Yeah.
Nope.
I kept my finger on the page to not make the wrong choice.
Me too.
Oh, so true.
Yeah. Oh, those were cool. I don't know if those are a thing now.
I think I saw some. Actually, I tell you, I saw some in Barter Books in Alnwick. I saw many of them there, which tells me not because it's a second-hand bookshop. But maybe they're going to make a resurgence. I hope so.
Well, Netflix tried to do something similar, didn't it? It was weird. You could choose at the bottom. It was like what happens next, and if you clicked it, another stream would come on.
I know that they did that. Did they do that for a Black Mirror episode? And did they do that for the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt?
Yes, and they did it for like a Bear Grylls thing.
Oh.
And because I remember watching it when I was teaching, and we'd watch it at the end of the day when the kids were waiting to get collected, and it was like, Bear has. He's like found himself in the woods. What should he do? And
drink his own urine.
It was almost a joy. And the kids were like, "That's the one."
Should he drink his own urine or siphon out the moisture in his own poo?
And I remember watching it, and it was you know how it comes up at the top for Netflix, like what age group it is.
Yeah.
So it was like 7+, and I was like, right, these guys are like 9. That's risk free. And then he just says something like, "Oh, you're taking the piss," and I was like,
"Bear, excuse me."
And all the kids were like. And I was like, no, we didn't hear that. We're turning it off. They're like, no, we won't say anything. Just let us choose the next one.
Oh, so funny. Yeah. What I love about that as well is it's just such a good chance of being like, does Bear Grylls drink his own piss? Or does he stay in a 5-star hotel?
It's never that. It was never anything nice that he had to do.
What I love is that he's also had to do both of those things.
I know. That's the thing. Why are you putting yourself through this, Bear? You came up with the idea.
Oh, Bear.
Yeah.
What would you say, and you might not remember this, is the first book that you remember reading in your sort of now most favourite genres? So your first, potentially, let's start with YA fantasy. Do you remember the first real YA fantasy that you read? And no one's going to check up on you if you just straight up lie to us because you don't know.
YA fantasy. It's difficult because, again, I feel like you almost like look at your kind of book timeline with like significant time periods like marked. If you imagine it like a big chronology, and I think because ACOTAR was so huge, for me with that,
it's almost
it sucks everything else in like a vacuum.
God.
You know?
That's why I started a podcast with you, man. Like you say, just the best shit. Like I love it so much.
It's hard to remember anything else. I would obviously Throne of Glass.
Yeah, I was. I read Throne of Glass first before I read ACOTAR, and whoever I've spoken to will already know this, but I have a theory that you prefer one over the other, and it's always the one you read first.
That's fair.
And so far it's held true. I think every time except maybe once.
Okay.
but fuck that person, they don't count. Sorry, if you are that person, because I don't remember who it is, but if you are that person, I'm really sorry. I don't mean you, but I also sort of do.
What about you? You would have had a lot, because you were into fantasy.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
on its own for a long time.
From the off, yeah. Fuck.
What about fantasy romance? What was your first fantasy romance book?
That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. The books get so big.
They do,
and they're such a not necessarily formative, but like you're right. They suck any other little tiddles out.
So there might have been something before it, but you probably won't remember it because it's
just off the top of my head. I've definitely not spent the last 2 minutes looking at my bookshelves while Amy sang to herself.
Yeah, like la la la. Mm-hmm.
I think my journey into fantasy romance began with the book box subscription to Fairy Loot. So,
that's really interesting.
So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I was going to say in the UK, UK-based companies called Fairy Loot, Illumicrate. There was also Book Box Club. They're now gone, R.I.P. There's a few others that I think are a bit less well known, but basically Fairy Loot and Illumicrate are the big boys, and they essentially, well, each month you get a new book sent to you, and you could either choose to have like little bits and stuff with it, so like cute little fandom things and stuff.
So how did you find that? Because now I think they're very popular because of BookTok, Bookstagram.
I started my subscription in 2019.
I'd say that's pretty early on.
Yeah, I think so. That was about the time I started my subscription, maybe 6 months before I got a Bookstagram.
Okay, wow. Okay.
I started in like the April, and the first book I got was it was called Nocturne or Nocturna, and it was fucking class. It was so good, and I remember just being like, oh my god. I don't think it was a fantasy romance though. So it had a romance in it.
Okay.
But I don't think it was a
it wasn't a fantasy romance.
It was a fantasy, but I don't think it, for me, maybe because at the time I hadn't submersed myself in the genre so much, so I can't tell you that it really hit the sides as fantasy romance. But the biggest one was The Wrath and the Dawn for me. That was my first fantasy romance by Renee Adair.
Have you got the photograph of the cover? Because I will know. I think in my head I know what it looks like, but I just want to see if it's the one I'm thinking of. Yes.
Yeah. Wrath and the Dawn. It's a duology. They're incredible.
Yep.
Amazing. So good. They've also turned it into a webtoon. So you can read it as a comic if you do not fancy reading through a whole book. But yes, do you remember your first romantasy?
I think I got on the romantasy bandwagon at the same time a lot of people did. So I quickly discovered the classics. So I did ACOTAR. Then I quickly did Cruel Prince.
Cruel Prince, of course.
So yeah, I think that was one that came up because I was looking for more like ACOTAR, and then Cruel Prince was recommended, and I much prefer Cruel Prince. It's now one of my all-time favourite book series. And then that's just like, I don't know, it's a shame because there's so many books that just absolutely blend into obscurity because of ACOTAR. Because even if they came up with the concept first, they cannot possibly shine in the huge shade that ACOTAR casts. Like,
damn you, BookTok.
Yeah, it's tough. I've read so many books like that. Fairies, Unseelie Fae. Yeah,
they almost began the romantasy genre. I know.
Yeah. There is one. I'm going to find it because I'm pretty sure it's like self-published. It's really good. But you continue because I do want to give them a wee shout out.
I was going to ask you what your first horror was.
Oh,
other than the Goosebumps, bit more adult, let's say.
The first time I ever sat down to read a big boy horror book.
Big boy strap in your pants.
Yes, was It by Stephen King.
Interesting. That's a big old book.
And it was just one of those books that was like very formative. I remember reading it. I was working in a shop at the time, so I had like a weekend job, and it was the summer, but it was one of those really like humid and wet summers.
Amazing.
You know,
Always.
and I've just got such strong memories of it being like murky and like
almost mirroring,
oppressive.
Yeah.
And sitting on the bus back and forward to work, 'cause I couldn't drive at the time, reading it, and just like I was surrounded by people. It was middle of the day and I was shitting my pants.
Bright light in the sky, midday sun, terrified.
Yeah. And then obviously we get to the end and you're like, oh, okay, it's a bit...
What, the child orgy scene?
Yes. Yeah. But it's an undertaking, and it has got some of the most fantastic horror writing. Oh, absolutely horrifying. And then I've just read loads of King after that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What would you say is your favourite King?
Probably Salem's Lot.
Nice. Alex, I have not read King other than Eyes of the Dragon and his Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
So I haven't read any sort of... But I'm really interested in The Stand, because I know that that's Alex's favourite.
Yeah, it's a good, strong choice. I would start with The Shining.
Okay.
Just because it's like... Well, Stephen King loves to kind of give you lots of information about background characters, but these are background characters that pop up a lot in the King universe.
Yeah, so I didn't realise Flag is a wizard, and he is in The Eyes of the Dragon, and I love him. He's terrifying, but I didn't. Alex shit his pants when he turned up in The Stand.
Yeah,
and that helped Alex to realise that Flag was a bad guy in The Stand, because he turns up because we both read and loved Eyes of the Dragon, and it's like, oh my god, it's just really cool. I love it's such hubris that he has his own kingiverse.
Oh yeah, yep, 100%, and well deserved. But yeah, I would say if you read The Shining, you'll get loads of different references as well, because it's such a huge part of pop culture. But it's so expertly done, because it's the idea of, is anything supernatural at all happening,
or is it just his own psyche?
Yeah, is he just really struggling with alcoholism and depression, and he's having a...
It's something I ask myself every day.
Yeah. But no, that was probably the biggie. And then now it's like a crime was another one for me.
Oh yeah, of course.
I read lots and lots and lots of crime books.
I've just remembered a book that I loved when I was younger that should be crime. Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time.
Oh, one of my ultimate favourites.
It's such a good book.
Yeah, I really want to see the stage show of that.
It's incredible.
Is it? Have you seen it? Oh,
Alex took me for a birthday when we first moved to London.
Lovely.
It was brilliant. But
I love that book.
It was so good, and and what wonderful representation for... I mean, whether or not it's good representation, I'm not sure. I feel like some of the books of that time, perhaps you have authors who are writing them who have no right to be writing them, but let's leave that out for a moment.
I don't know.
But yeah, I just remember it being an incredible book.
Yeah, it's great.
And just really feeling for his dad.
Yeah.
Just having his life breaking down around him, and all his son cares about is who killed the dog.
Yeah.
And it's him that killed the dog.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoilers, guys. It's been out a while, but...
Oh, it's great.
Sorry, back to you. Crime?
No, yeah, crime. So that started with The Lovely Bones.
Oh my god, what a... Fuck Stanley Tucci.
That's when I started reading like true crime.
Ooh.
Yeah. But that's... If you haven't read that, whoa.
Yeah.
That was in our high school library, and and I don't think people realise just how hard hitting it is, like how detailed that first chapter is.
Oh god, if it's anything like the film, if it's anything like I know books to be better than not better. Generally, they're always better. I feel like there is a rule. That is a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's always a higher level of detail in books as well. So knowing what I know from the film that I watched years ago, that me, mum and dad watched together, I don't even think I need to read that.
No, I wouldn't recommend it for you, because I know you're not. It's not the kind of thing you want to read about.
No, it's not. Funnily enough, that's it. I think
that's it.
Look at that. This is a big mini-sode.
I know, we were just talking about it before, saying, this won't take long to edit this one. We won't talk for too long about this subject.
But here we are, guys. Tell us everything, Let us know what you think. What were your first books? Were some of ours as formative as some of yours?
Did you genre jump? Did you stick to the same kinds of books? Do you read the same kind of books now as you read when you were younger?
Email us. I keep telling you, email us. I'm not giving anyone a book though, because I've just given that offer over.
No, if you want to see that, if you're that offered, then go listen to Poster Girl.
Yeah, damn right. Yeah, podcast Page Turners Pod on both TikTok and Instagram, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yeah,
hopefully. Who knows? Maybe. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Happy reading.
See you the next one.
See you.
Bye.